3, 2, 1. You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Alright. 3, 2. Good evening, everyone. Happy Saturday as my black ass wakes up. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. And I am here with, oh my god, someone I'll be able to see in just over a month because we're getting vaccinated. Thank fucking Christ. I have DC fan, overall nerd, Allissa.
DC apologist.
How are you?
I want all my titles.
I see. The thing is, I won't even say DC apologist because apologist would imply that they never make anything good, and I think that's unfair. So that's why I said DC fan, and I can't confirm this because you guys obviously can't see the audio, but I'm wearing a Justice League of America retro shirt right now. So
Nice.
Yeah, which Allissa can confirm.
Yes, it's always nice when you dress for the occasion.
Right, thank you. But Allissa, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I am waking up slowly.
So I'm going to give you roughly a minute here because my colleague Scott and I went 90 minutes. I'm going to give you a minute here to share your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League because you enjoyed it, because we've both talked about it. I enjoyed it less than you did, but we both admitted that there was good stuff about it. So I'm just going to give you the floor for a couple minutes and just let you go ahead.
Sure. All right. So my little PowerPoint paragraph here is going to be basically, I was completely ready to hate it. I remember you and I were both very cynical, and I had to eat kind of a plate of crow because I honestly thought it wouldn't be different enough to really even justify existing. I thought it'd be a little bit more oversaturated colors, a couple F-bombs, and maybe some extra gore. I did not anticipate all of the story stuff that actually got added into that cut. So my biggest compliment is that it does justify its own existence, in my opinion. It's a very long sit. I could do with it being a bit shorter, and I was kind of counting out as I was watching it areas where I'm like, I could cut that. It's actually, the length is definitely a big negative on its side, because when you want to go watch it again, who the fuck has that kind of time on their hands, you know? So,
Right.
But overall, I thought it did a lot better with the characters. I thought the story was a lot more cohesive. The ending was so much fucking better. Oh my god.
Which one?
No, the Snyder cut one. Like, I love that. I love the fucking shit where, like, they all die and then come on. I love it when movies do crazy shit like that, you know, especially like comic book movies, because what the fuck? I mean, I always hate how a lot of comic book movies take the most linear stories that they can. Up until very recently, I feel like they always just play it super safe and try to follow just the same kind of basic themes and hero's journey, and you fight, you lose, then you come back, and then you win, and then everyone has a happy ending. I just find that stuff very overplayed these days. So whenever a movie kind of does it different, where I'm like, I didn't see that coming, I have to admire it. But yes, I enjoyed it more than you did. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but in terms of, you know, just seeing the characters you love and seeing kind of a much more interesting story, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't so crushingly long, I would definitely watch it again.
Yeah, like that's pretty much where I landed. I landed on a C+ because, again, I've had people yelling at me about Snyder for the last 3 years. So
what did you
I admit some of it is.
You took an entire grade off for something. Oh, the aspect ratio. That's right.
Oh fuck yeah. Just off of principle alone, because I watched it on my monitor and I was like, yeah, this is a very bad choice. And so. And I'll be real too, if I hadn't known that 10%, because a fan broke it down, that 10% of the film is in slow-mo, it'd probably be a C instead of a C+. But I had to be fair, because again,
if you didn't notice it, then you can't ding the slow-mo. I mean, you probably didn't notice it because you were, like, 10% over 4 hours is, you know, hard to notice.
That's still, it wasn't in the review. Listen, I brought it up pretty consistently, but as I said in the review, credit where it's due. I thought it was going to be BVS bad, and just the fact it wasn't that bad, that is something to celebrate, question mark.
But I agree. I was shocked when you told me that some of your friends were saying it was BVS bad. I mean, anyone who's putting it on par with BVS, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. It is not that bad.
I agree. I agree, and that is something that per our review, have said, like, if you think this is BVS bad, you really are just hating on the film. But if you also think this is, because I'm seeing this a lot too, the best comic book film ever made, then I want what you're smoking, because that's not true. It's not even his best film.
No, it's not. It's not. I think Watchmen's better than by far.
Interesting. That's so. I have a love-hate relationship with Watchmen.
I know, we've been over it.
We have.
No, what's the other one? He has another. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. My favorite Snyder movie.
Owl movie. Owl movie's my favorite one. I know it's not called Owl movie. It's Legend of the Guardians, but I think it's Dawn of the Dead remake.
That's it.
Better.
Thank you. Yes, Dawn of the Dead remake is actually his best movie, if you were to ask me.
Yeah, and that's fair. So overall, you would have given it like a B, right?
Yeah, I'll put it in a solid B. 85%, like right in the middle B.
Fair enough. But since we talked about that, we have to talk about DC's newest project, which, oh my god, it's so nice to be excited for a DC project. Obviously the Batman notwithstanding, because I'm hyped for that shit. But I've been a huge James Gunn fan since Slither. I think the man is genuinely brilliant. He was a producer on Brightburn, which there's issues with it, but it's still okay.
Brightburn was such a missed opportunity. I don't know how much you can lay at his feet for that. Because I just feel like they really blew like a pretty fun concept and a really great cast on kind of a mediocre script.
And that's what sucks, is because I think if you rewrite the script and you give it 25-ish minutes to actually show the kid be a good kid before he makes a turn, then everything else after that becomes very impactful. And that was my biggest gripe against the film.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just such a wasted opportunity because, I mean, we've seen so many iterations of evil Superman. So doing it as a kid is a fresh take on it. You could actually have fun with it, but they needed to add more in the middle there and show him be an actual kid. That way it's a lot more meaningful when he goes completely fucking psycho. I didn't even realize at first why he started acting bad until like my second watch of it, when it's like you realize that the ship like programmed him, but like you don't feel anything. So like, I don't know if this is normal for this kid or not, you know?
Exactly. And for me, that was such a bummer, because I really was sitting there going, this is a great concept on paper. Like, I want to see this just by default. Also seeing Roy from The Office, the way he got killed, whoo, that's what you get for fucking around with Pam, asshole. But James Gunn is back with his. Okay, so I'm gonna call it now. I think James Gunn's gonna be with DC moving forward after Guardians 3.
You think, or your hope?
I think, and I hope. I think he'll. Because let's be real, like Guardians 3, they should kill off Star-Lord, not just because Chris Pratt's a douche. But
I love Chris Pratt. How dare you? He's not a douche. You're part.
Oh, he's a.
No, he's not. It's a celebrity.
He's a douche.
No one even knows celebrities. I hate this whole cult of personality people ascribe to people. Like, you're so guilty of it too. Like you.
Whoa, how you can be quiet right now. Like, look, I like Chris Pratt's very charming, grows great facial hair. What else would you want? You know, he's married to a Schwarzenegger, like, good for him, but he's kind of a douchebag. And
based on what? I'm sorry, I hate to derail right here, but like, I'm just curious what you're basing this on.
Okay, so basically he's not a fan of the gays, essentially.
No, he attends a church where some people have expressed that opinion, and he's never actually said anything on his side. I mean... But
isn't that worse to not clear the air when you're going to a church that discriminates against a group like that?
I'm pretty sure he did come out and say he has no problem with gay people.
But if you're still going to a church that is against gay, like, you get how that looks bad, right?
I don't think I'm of the opinion that just because you're a celebrity does not mean you need to justify every tie in your life, and you're not. I don't know. I will, if he ever says anything homophobic or anything like that, then yeah, I'll say that that's not right. But until he actually explicitly does, then I'm not about to ascribe opinions to him that he has not expressed. I think that that's very unfair.
Well, I mean, you are also a celebrity and you are in the public eye. So if we're going to subscribe, values and things to politicians, if you're a celebrity, sorry, that's part of the gig. Don't feel bad for him, but
I don't feel bad for him, but I just think you and I have a bit of a disagreement on that.
What the hell? What, us disagreeing? The hell you saying?
We never disagree. Yeah.
Right. But James Gunn has been, such a force for a while, and he's a very weird dude. And I think that's actually my favorite thing about James Gunn is that, you think about something like Guardians of the Galaxy, both films where the characters were C-level Marvel heroes at best, and he goes ahead, like, out of all the properties he could have done, he went, I'm going to take this one and make it a thing, because they didn't have the rights to X-Men at the time. And let's be clear, if they had the rights to X-Men, we would not have had a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But we get two of them that are big smashes, and then Disney fires James Gunn for bullshit, and I won't go on that whole thing. You can Google it, kids. But then in between that time, hey, DC's like, save us. And he goes, sure, I'll make something weird for DC. And apparently he was offered anything he wanted, because he talked about maybe doing Green Lantern, maybe doing Superman. Like, he was offered anything he wanted from DC, which, when you think about just their catalog, is pretty fucking insane.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that he just gave him a blank check like that, but he said, I want to do a Suicide Squad film. And let's be clear, the last Suicide Squad film, to call it not good is being way too kind to it. It's an offensive mess. That's the best way I'll put it. We reviewed it. Go listen to our review. It's a bad movie. It's straight up a bad
Probably
film.
my least favorite, just in terms of missed potential. Well, I don't know. It's so hard. I go back and forth on BVS and Suicide Squad, because Suicide Squad is so easy to not fuck up that I can't believe they managed to fuck it up that badly. Batman versus Superman, again, it seems like it would be easy to not fuck up, but actually when you think about it, I can see how that's a big, role to fill. So I can be, I don't know, more forgiving? I don't know. It depends on what time of day you ask me which one I hate more.
I get what you mean, though, because BVS, the term I've used on here, it should have been a layup, and I stand by that. But I think for me, where you could make the case for Suicide Squad being the bigger missed opportunity is I saw Batman Assault on Arkham like a week before I saw Suicide Squad, and I just left the theater even more pissed off. I went, why don't you take this animated feature that you had and just make it a little longer in live action?
Well, and then after that, they had Suicide Squad, the Hell to Pay movie, and that one was a blast too. Like,
yes, it was.
It's not hard to make a good Suicide Squad movie. I can see how it's hard to make a good BVS movie because it is so ambitious and you have such a high expectation to fill. So I don't know. They're bad in very different ways, but they both really, really, really piss me off. So I can't say which one I hate more sometimes.
So as we talk about this trailer, I have to give the trailer credit. I'm already more entertained than I was in Suicide Squad. Like, I've laughed more, because I laughed at Suicide Squad, like, at it, like, haha, this sucks. But I was actually laughing at the trailer, like, oh my god, these jokes are actually funny, and there's color. Holy shit, there's color in a DC movie. The hell you say? But there's stuff here that I went, you have to have, and I'm not as huge of a Suicide Squad fan as you. I've definitely read several runs of it, but some of the references and characters he's pulling, you have to have really read Suicide Squad to pull, Polka Dot Man, and to pull, Weasel, and these other characters. I go, well, the second Ratcatcher, technically.
Well, I think they're both in there. I mean, just from the trailer, probably first Ratcatcher dies, and then his daughter there is like avenging him. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
I will say, you know what? And we're dealing with a huge difference in talent here between, I think, David Ayer did the first one. Yeah.
And
the gulf between David Ayer and James Gunn is huge. But I will say, the trailer for the first Suicide Squad movie looked pretty fucking good too. So I am going in here guarding my heart, just because I mean, that's the job of a trailer, is to make the movie look awesome. If you can't do a good trailer, then that's how you obviously know it's going to be a piece of shit. But even the worst movies can sometimes have really epic trailers. So I'm trying to be cautious here.
One of my favorite trailers for a film maybe ever is the third Man of Steel trailer. I think it's a genuinely perfect trailer. And while I don't hate Man of Steel, I definitely was disappointed by it at points. So you're not wrong. Now, here's the thing, though, to your point. Ayer is a completely different filmmaker than Gunn, and you didn't see Ayer's last film, The Tax Collector. I'll tell you, it's a giant piece of shit. And it was actually my number three or number two least favorite film last year. Like, The Tax Collector is fucking terrible, but Gunn's weirdness is kind of made for a Suicide Squad film.
I agree 100%. I was telling you, I admire how when he's given the opportunity to make like a comic book movie, he's like, I'm going to take characters that you think are completely unfilmable and I'm going to do it. Fucking Starro? If you would have told me a year ago that they're going to do a live action movie that has a giant fucking starfish in it, like they're actually going to do Starro the Conqueror, I would have been like, there's no way any studio is going to sign off on that.
So let's kind of get in the trailer, and I'm just going to kind of just take shit, just kind of grab shit phrasing and address it as you will. So Starro was the big one, obviously. You know, you have someone in Idris Elba, who of course, you know, was in the first Pacific Rim. Mm-hmm. He's here playing Bloodsport. And Idris Elba, let's get out of the way. You know, Black Superman, technically he should be in this, you know, if we're going off of Hobbs and Shaw logic. But Idris Elba is just one of my favorite actors, period. You know, of course, very handsome man, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, but of course. He also is joined by John Cena, which, I'll be real, this is the most I've liked John Cena probably in about 10 years. So
John Cena, did they recast Jai Courtney? It didn't look like him in the trailer. He looked weirdly.
That's still him.
Oh, he looks like way younger somehow in this one. Is it just me?
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
I think so. Mm-hmm. But seeing, okay, so John Cena, you know, former pro wrestler, I guess he's still technically wrestling, but John Cena's bugged me for a minute, and this whole attempt to be, you know, The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, I went, okay, that's kind of like, give me a fucking break. This is the most I've already laughed at John Cena in something in any of the films he's done. I went, oh wow, he's actually making fun of himself, because when I think of, you know, the whole Super Cena persona he had in wrestling, how people were even saying, oh, he should be Captain America. And I'd go, please don't say that. That's the last thing I fucking want. So he's kind of the anti-Captain America here, which I love that this is the role that he picked. And hearing him talk about eating a bag of dicks for liberty is something I didn't know I needed, but yeah, I kind of want more of this John Cena.
I will say a lot of the hate around him for when he was wrestling is because he was just, especially compared to like the flashier characters. Like, I was a huge late 90s like wrestling fan, you know, WCW and all that. John Cena just was very boring to a lot of people back when he was wrestling.
True.
By the way, Bret Hart, the Pink and Black Attack, that was my guy.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Never forgive Goldberg for ending his career. But anyways,
Wow, I just gained even more respect for pulling wrestling references, but continue.
And this is, I think, just a credit to James Gunn in general, because he does the same thing in Guardians, where he takes a lot of people who you just really wouldn't think have a lot of chemistry, and he makes them a lot more charismatic. It's a credit to the directing, quite honestly.
True.
I will say, on that same note, Rick Flag actually looks like he has a personality in this one.
Yeah, so Joel Kinnaman is one of those dudes I see and stuff, and I go, I don't know if I'm going to like you or not, because I actually thought he wasn't bad in the RoboCop remake. That was from 2015, I want to say. And I actually thought him in the first Suicide Squad, I actually liked him in it. I didn't think he had a lot, like...
I found him very generic. I don't know. He didn't really leave much of an impression.
I really liked him in Deadshot's back and forth. The big problem is that they tied Rick Flag with... Enchantress, and that whole romantic subplot just does not fucking work. Yeah. That's really his biggest problem. But as far as him being, you know, basically, you know, douchebag G.I. Joe, this actually kind of works for what the film is giving. It looks like we're getting a better representation of that here, which, you know, I'm already excited about. But
I really hope that they do a callback to his super awkward introduction for Katana in this one. I really hope James Gunn does like a fucking like parody of that, because that was so bad.
So I wonder how much James Gunn's going to kind of poke the bear in that sense, because there's so much from that first Suicide Squad that you can pick apart and make fun of. You know, the fact that, you know, that Katana is not even a fucking character in that when she's a fucking badass. If you've read her in the comics, you know, the fact that, you know, Harley is barely dressed in that movie. And look, I love, like, Margot Robbie. Yes, she's super fine, you know, whatever else you want to add to that. But they actually gave her a fucking costume in this, which, you know, again, go figure. And we've talked about this off mic. I'm a huge fan of Margot Robbie just as an actress. I think she's going to be very much Scarlett Johansson in the sense that people are always going to be like, oh my gosh, she's so hot, and not give her credit for how good of an actress she actually is, because she actually is a genuinely great actress.
She is, and I think that the first Suicide Squad movie really, again, it's a matter of directing. She's not really that great in the first Suicide Squad movie. She is pretty good. She's one of the best parts of it, but compare her in Birds of Prey. Like, when she has, like, a director who's actually, like, given her something to work with, she's so much, like she really comes to life versus just kind of going through the beats like she did in the original one.
So my big thing with her portrayal of Harley is I think it's gotten better with each thing I've seen her in. While I'm not crazy about Birds of Prey like a lot of people are, I gave it a B- when we reviewed it. I feel like that potential's there. Like I don't think it's her. That's the best way I can put it. I think it's a material she's been given. Gunn's already talking about doing a solo Harley Quinn project with Margot Robbie. Like, apparently that's on the table already. And in hearing Gunn talk about Harley in some interviews here recently, it seems like he really does get the character. So I'd be curious to see if he even wants to take on Gotham City Sirens, because that should, in theory, be the next thing that they do with Harley.
Oh, be still my heart, I would die. I mean, honestly, Gotham City Sirens would have made way more sense than Birds of Prey. I don't know why they did a Birds of Prey with her.
Thank you. And I was fucking saying that. So, but where they leave it in Birds of Prey, I went, okay, you could do Gotham City Sirens now off of what you've done here. But seeing her in this, the fact that they're going to save her, the fact she got captured. So I'm curious, because the trailer obviously doesn't tell us, is she getting captured because she's on the run after Birds of Prey? Is she being captured for something she does here in the movie? That's something I'm curious about, because if they connect the Suicide Squad with Suicide Squad anyway, you could in theory take the little bits, you know, that you want to connect and kind of go from there. So I'm hoping they kind of address that. But I love the first costume we see her in. Mm-hmm. It's very Harley. And she's doing the voice, but not to an obnoxious extent. Like, I think it's just enough of the accent and not, like, overbearing. That's kind of the best way I can put it. At least from what we've seen in the trailer. It doesn't seem like she's doing the accent as heavy. She's done it prior.
Oh, hold on, Hunter.
But yeah, I mean, so I think with Harley's voice, it's a little interesting that she's not using as much of the accent. But this is also just from the bit we've seen. There's that great scene of her in this. Looks like in this room where she's got like dual guns and she's shooting people, and we get that slow-mo, but we get this very colorful background of like flowers behind her, which I went, that's just a great fucking shot. So there's a lot here already that I'm going, okay, this is colorful. It feels like it's going to be DC's the Dirty Dozen, which if it's anywhere close to that, then this will be fucking awesome. I mean, again, you're the bigger Suicide Squad fan. Like, from the trailer, what were you noticing going like, oh my god, outside of the giant, IG monster?
Well, yeah, no, that was the part that I had to like pause and rewatch like 80 times, was like, no way, really? So what jumped at me, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to watch the trailer and not instantly compare it to the massive disappointment that was its predecessor. So already what's good is they actually are using the Suicide Squad correctly. They are not world savers. They are a black ops team that you would blow their head off if they did anything that displeases you. And if they fuck it up, you pretend you didn't know them. That's the entire point of the squad. It's a great idea, and I have no idea why they decided to not use it in the original. The chemistry is much better, just from the short bits that I've seen. It's got to be really hard, especially with such a huge cast that they're already going into this with. I mean, I'm sure a couple people are going to bite the bullet pretty early, but just trying to coordinate that many different actors, that many different characters is, I don't envy that task. But from what I've seen, the chemistry looks really good. The costuming, I love the unapologetically ridiculous costumes. That's, again, one thing I just love about James Gunn. He's like, oh, yeah, no, we're just pulling this one straight from the page. I ain't changing it for anything. I do like the actress they got for Ratcatcher too. It looks like they're going to kind of tease a romance with her and Bloodsport. I don't know. Like, honestly, I still can't. I'm still just seeing giant starfishes in my mind's eye when I'm trying to talk about this.
Okay. So before we get back to giant starfish, I will say we have not talked about one of my favorite parts about the Harley Quinn TV show that is also in here. We have not talked about King Shark, who's voiced by fucking Sylvester Stallone, which is just the most... When I heard that Stallone was joining the cast, I went, oh my god, I think he's voicing King Shark. And I remember people going like, you think so? I went, it's the only thing that kind of makes sense. And so getting that confirmation, because there's this point in the trailer where he goes hand, and Amanda Waller just looks at him like, yep, that's your hand. I went, oh, yep, this is perfect.
This is exactly of this group.
Like, they should... Actually, yeah, basically. And so, just real quick on Stallone, this is such a small gripe, and it's a gripe, but it's a small one. I hope they clean up the CG for King Shark by the time we get to the movie, because it did look a little rough in spots. But even if they didn't clean up the CG, just seeing him go meow meow and eat someone in the trailer, I went, holy crap!
At least one King Shark is a shark from him.
Yeah, James Gunn's too much of a nerd. I highly doubt that's not in there. But the shot where he rips that dude in half was such a oh my god. So I was mid sip of my coffee when I watched the trailer yesterday morning, and seeing that I was like, holy shit, okay, that is something I did not expect, but I'm a sucker for people being torn in half lengthwise.
Like I've never seen a movie where I didn't get a oh fucking hardcore out of me. I actually going back to the CGI, I actually would not mind it at all if it was not even polished a little bit. I actually kind of think it lends a bit to the tone, like the over the top, the silly, colorful. Because I mean that's always what you're trading off when you're not doing it all dark and murky Zack Snyder style. The effects are easier to see. It's a lot easier to pick them apart. But I don't know. I think it would totally completely fit if they had it maybe a little bit rough in spots.
So it's interesting because looking at, so they brought back Viola Davis, which is the one thing I said outside of Margot Robbie that they should bring back was Viola Davis, her Amanda Waller from the first Suicide Squad. And that woman, my God, just there's a certain amount of swagger you have to play Amanda Waller. And there's this point where there's a pin right at her neck and she doesn't fucking flinch. I went, God damn, she's a badass. And one of my favorite scenes in Suicide Squad is where she gets that gun and shoots a couple of her people down like it's nothing. I went, oh, okay, this is her. And seeing her, in her in her pantsuit and all that, still looking like an intimidating bitch. Like, you can't teach that. That's just natural, like authoritative, like that.
Yeah, anyone who knows anything about the Suicide Squad will tell you, like, you can't fuck up Amanda Waller. Like, you have to really get someone who can be in a room full of hardened criminals and like super villains and still be like the most fucking cold motherfucker in there. It's like you have to have someone with that presence. So yeah, A+ casting on Viola Davis for that. I actually think what's her name also would have been really good because I think that she could pull it off too. The chick from Ma, from The Help. What's her name? So, yes, thank you. She would have also, I think, been really good because in the comics, actually, And I've always thought it was one of the more interesting kind of design choices. But in the comics, Amanda Waller is a big old lady. So I think Octavia Spencer would have been good, and I think that she could also kind of project sort of that cold, kind of badass vibe. It'd be nice to see her sort of stretch her legs a bit with something like that.
So I mean, if you see her in something like Ma, like you see that she can play crazy and intense very easily.
But no shade on Viola Davis. I just like, but okay, yeah, like so, that was just kind of my point. Is like, yeah, for someone like Amanda Waller, you absolutely need someone who can project that level of intimidation.
So I'm gonna say one way this movie can really disappoint me. If Pete Davidson makes it to the end, there's no reason he should make it to the end. I fucking hate Pete Davidson. So if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, I fucking hate The King of Staten Island. Like, I think that's the most overrated film of 2020, and it bothers me that people like that movie as much as they do. And Pete Davidson, you know, in 2 to 3 minute SNL weekend update segments, he's fine. But I don't want 2 hours of Pete Davidson being on screen next to Idris Elba and next to Michael Rooker and Margot Robbie. He has not earned the right to share the set.
I'm actually looking forward to. I'm betting that they're going to kill off Savant, Michael Rooker's character, because you remember during DC Fandom how much shit everyone was giving him. I bet he has like the most insane death in this movie.
Yes. Well, I mean, the tagline is what? Don't get too attached. Like,
I'm really looking forward to that one in particular, just because I remember how much shit they were giving him and how everyone was just like fake hating on him the entire time. Like, I wonder what's going on in that film. Oh yeah,
which was so fucking fun, but you already got that vibe of the camaraderie between the cast. It's just off that little fandom panel, which. If any of that even comes close to translating, we'll be in good hands when this movie comes out. But last thing I'm gonna throw out, I really love that John Ostrander is actually in the trailer. If you can spot him, of course he's a very prominent Suicide Squad writer. I was really happy to see that he is in the trailer, and apparently he's a co-writer on the script with Gunn, which already makes me go, okay, this is good. He also worked on the Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, which is why it's so good.
By the way, guys, if you haven't seen it, go watch Hell to Pay. It's so worth it.
I agree. It's on HBO Max, last I checked. So
I think it's on Prime,
you have
too.
No excuse if you don't have it. That's actually something we should review before this comes out. But I've watched this trailer 12 times. Like, before even watching it again here to review with you. Plus using Steely Dan is just, I'm a huge Steely Dan fan, so I was like, oh shit, okay, like a very good song choice, which Gunn, kind of knows a little bit about.
Definitely was getting some Guardian vibes from the soundtrack here, which, I mean, is not a bad thing at all.
Absolutely. So this comes out in August, not far away, so we'll probably get one more trailer, because technically, while this is the first official trailer, we did get that pretty lengthy look at Fandom, so I don't want them to spoil too much. That's the best way I can put it. So if we get one more trailer between now and August, maybe get one, late June, I'd be fine with that. I don't think you need 3 trailers for this movie. My only concern, and DC fans, I'm speaking to you directly here, so please listen to me on this. If you want like weirder, like cool shit, go support this stuff. Like honestly, go out and support it. Watch it on HBO Max. Like go out and support these projects. I think this is going to be. I hope this is Shazam level of great. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking it's going to be, and I fully admit, Allissa, I share your hesitation to not be hurt again, because I remember going to the last Suicide Squad thinking maybe this will work and being incredibly upset. I obviously have more faith in Ayer. That's not true. I have more faith in Gunn than I do in Ayer. Yeah, exactly. I have more faith in Gunn than I do in Ayer, and the posters they put out alone, I went, wow, really think you get this. Like as far as like the characters, they put out like 12 posters, character posters for several of the members of the squad, which all look badass. So I'm like, okay, like I think the marketing is going to be going about this the right way. I look forward to going to Hot Topic and grabbing a Peacekeeper shirt at some point. but yeah, I'm hyped for this. I think this is.
I'm pretty excited for it too, and I definitely want to echo what you said in terms of I mean, if you want to see more of this, definitely make sure you go out and buy a ticket. Support the animated universe because, as always, DC has always kind of had the edge, at least in that one arena, is that they put out really great animated content, both movies and shows. I'm super excited. Did you notice that the actor that they got for Polka Dot Man is the guy from the Dark Knight? I did not notice that. No, like the Joker henchman that Harvey tries to like pretend to torture. So we can pretend that this is like maybe a sequel to that, and that's how Polka Dot Man got started.
Okay. I did not. Okay, so that is something we have not brought up. Peter Capaldi, fucking the doctors in this shit. Peter Capaldi is fucking awesome, and seeing him, I forgot he was in this, and I mean that as a compliment. I was like, oh my god, Capaldi's in this. Like, fuck yeah, let's go. Him playing the Thinker. When you look at how he looks in the comics, it's absolutely perfect.
Basically, all the casting here is basically spot on. Bloodsport. I would not have thought of Idris Elba for that, but I'm so glad that that's the direction they went in.
Yeah, because I mean, all due respect to Will Smith, and look, I think he hit more. I think he hit the mark more as Deadshot than he didn't, but I'll be the first to admit they had to kind of go with the Will Smith isms and go, well, we can't make him as cold as we really want to because we have Will Smith playing him. It's like, well, then don't hire Will Smith for this role. Like, you need to kind of lean into what makes Deadshot. They won't have that problem with Idris Elba because Idris Elba doesn't give a fuck. And I mean that in the best way possible. So, you sub out one black guy for another. I mean, I get it. We're interchangeable.
You all look the same.
But exactly, yeah. But I'm really happy that they at least have him in it because Idris Elba's one of those guys who is kind of, and I hate using this term, but quote deserved unquote to break through for a while. It really should have been Luther, and not enough people have seen that fucking show. So I'm happy that he's in something more mainstream. I hope he makes it to the end because I mean, the black guy always dies. Maybe it doesn't happen here. Maybe he lives to see another day. Looking at the trailers
that he's going to be one of the ones that does make it to the end because they got to have him in the next. Because Bloodsport's most famous for, I think, shooting Superman with a kryptonite bullet. So they got to keep him around for that. So that is true. I'm really hoping that and we're also really hoping that James Gunn basically gets to be what did you say, the Kevin Feige of DC?
That's what I'm hoping for because I mean, here's the thing. To pull Starro out of your ass again, you really have to be digging deep.
Give me a James Gunn Superman movie with Brainiac.
So it's so funny you bring that up. When I saw Capaldi, that was like my second thought was, wow, you're pretty much halfway home on the Brainiac design. Just no one is gonna now. To be fair, Brainiac did pop up in Krypton, which I mean has since been canceled. But the look of Brainiac on that show it was fucking perfect. So I mean, come on, DC, we haven't seen Brainiac in Superman. We kind of.
The scripts are already written. There's already all these stories. All you got to do is just get someone to copy paste it onto like a Word doc and give it to some actors. It's so easy.
So just real quick, and I don't want to go too deep into this as we wrap up. I mean, if you haven't read any Suicide Squad, I would encourage you, because obviously I don't want to, to spoil the fucking movie for you. But reading Suicide Squad Volume 1 Trial by Fire, that's kind of required reading. If you're gonna read anything Suicide Squad, I would say read that. That will give you at least somewhat of a floor going into the movie. And I really, again, I hesitate to tell people to read comics before you go into a comic book film because I don't want you to spoil shit. But I think you can read Trial by Fire and you'd be probably more enhanced reading it.
And if you are going to read, try and at least get a good sample of the earlier books before Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn kind of takes over the entire show once they do put her in the Suicide Squad, and you'll get a lot more fun background on the other characters if you let go with some books that aren't going to just lean super heavily on her name recognition.
Yeah, but yeah, this is August. I will be going to the theater way more once I actually can safely go to a theater because I want to see this in IMAX. I don't know if they're putting it out in IMAX.
I hope that they use the same aspect ratio as the Snyder Cut just to fuck with you.
Why are you the way you are? But anything else you want to say on this?
Yes. So last thing I'll say about Starro is this definitely means that we're going to get Jarro at some point, and I want a Batman and Robin movie with Jarro as the Robin. That's my request for James Gunn.
You know, I mean, he's on Twitter. I mean, you just be like, hey, bud. I know you don't have Twitter, but just make a Twitter real quick and be like,
I'm pretty sure I'll get cancer if I even go on Twitter.
Like, I'm a fan.
So.
That's completely fair. I'll do it for you then. But yeah, this comes out in August. It's coming out on HBO Max and in theaters the same day because that's the part of the HBO agreement through the end of the year. I would tell people. So, okay. I'm going to put out in the universe. I hope this makes as much as the last Suicide Squad did, because despite our feelings on it, the last Suicide Squad film did clean up, which is why we're getting a sequel.
Reboot.
It's not about David Ayer. So, yeah, a soft reboot. Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it. But this looks like a war film. Again, it looks like DC's Dirty Dozen. And if they can even come close to capturing that, and it just happens to have comic book characters, Gunn is really good at blending genres that happen to just feature comic book characters in it. So I have no reason to think this will be not even good. Good, it's probably its floor. It's just going to be a matter of how great it can be and how they handle the deaths, because I think there will be some incredible deaths here. So I'll just say last thing for me: if Pete Davidson dies and I get a king shark as a shark, the floor is pretty much a B+ for me. It could fuck up at every other avenue, and I'd be like, oh cool, I got the two things like that. I personally kind of like in Dark Phoenix, like when Mystique died, I went, all right, well your floor is a D- because you killed Mystique, and fuck that version of her. But yeah, I'm hyped for this, and DC fans, you should be extremely
Hunter
excited
loves
about
it when
this
he can
movie
like a DC movie, because then you all get off of his back about how he hates DC.
I do. I know. You can literally look behind me and find the DC encyclopedia, and it's like, I like DC, goddammit. Just like, believe me. But anyways, I digress. But Allissa, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you so much, and we'll have to do
Hell to Bay, I think, in the interim before we watch this one.
Yeah, well, we still have to review both seasons of Harley Quinn.
Every time I blink, like 4 months go past. You got to give me a break here.
I know. Trust me. I get this has all been insane, so I'm not judging.
All right. Well,
thank you so much for being on.
Medias. I know that Hunter usually has people do call outs,
else,
but I don't have any. Find me on 4chan, I guess.
Wait, what can I find? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll just ignore that. But everyone, you can find the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, to name a few. At The Real Pineapple, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. And you can find my colleague Scott on Twitter at Nearman. That's NEARMAN the first. And like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple and at Real Pineapple Games, because I'm actually going to be on Twitch next month. Oh God, that's terrifying. But thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up here soon for Minari, One Night in Miami, as well as The Father with Anthony Hopkins. I'm going to start doing and reviewing all of the Best Picture nominees here in the next couple weeks. That's going to be my next project. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. Wear a mask, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, hit stop, bud.